In the NFL, the loudest plays don't always happen on the field. Sometimes they happen through timing, tone, and perception. Right after Sean King called the Browns' decision to draft Dillon Gabriel a fireable offense, a new voice appeared. Ross Tucker. Measured, calm, strategic. Coincidence? Maybe. But psychology tells us timing is rarely random. This isn't about proving collusion. It's about asking questions others won't. Why now? And who benefits when the message changes? The Sean King ripple. King has long maintained that Shedeur Sanders was the superior quarterback, voicing this opinion months before the draft. He characterized Gabriel as a short-range passer, precise in college but lacking the deep ball accuracy and arm strength typically required to excel at the professional level. Now, 4 games into the season, the on-field tape seems to have confirmed his concerns. When King reiterated his viewpoint, this time more forcefully and publicly, it triggered a reaction within the system. Organizations, especially in professional sports, are highly sensitive to narratives, particularly when an outsider's analysis starts to resonate with the public. The perceived threat to the team's messaging or image often sparks efforts to reassert control. That's precisely when Ross Tucker appeared, stepping into the conversation at a moment when timing, influence, and optics converge to shape the narrative. His entry highlights how quickly perception management can kick in once a dissenting voice gains traction. Enter Ross Tucker, the balancer or the broker. Ross Tucker is respected, a former player, a measured analyst, and notably a former Cleveland Brown. He didn't enter the conversation by chance. He appeared exactly when the narrative needed recalibration. Now here's the question, and it's one worth asking. Was Ross Tucker's appearance random or recruited? Because right after Sean King's fireable offense comment began trending, when social media outrage toward the Browns' quarterback decision hit its peak, Ross Tucker suddenly appeared on multiple platforms with a calm counterpoint. And what did he say? He didn't claim personally that Shedeur Sanders wasn't ready. He said, "From what I'm hearing, Shedeur Sanders isn't nearly ready." That phrasing matters. It's the language of controlled distance, enough to echo an internal message without owning it directly. So we have to ask, who was he hearing it from? And why deliver that message now, right when the Browns' credibility was under fire? Some within the sports psychology community believe Tucker was commissioned, not through official orders, but through quiet coordination. In organizational systems, influence rarely requires a memo. Shared interest and timing do the work. Because when a storm hits, institutions don't panic, they counter-program. They send out credible voices with soothing tones to reframe the conversation. Ross Tucker didn't stumble into this moment. He arrived precisely when the Browns needed him to. Contextual disclaimer. There's no verified evidence that Ross Tucker was officially commissioned by the Browns or anyone connected to the team. No contract, payment record, or formal announcement confirms such a relationship. Yet in behavioral and media psychology, the way a message is delivered, its timing, phrasing, and tone can reveal as much about intent as any document ever could. In this case, the alignment between what was said, when it was said, and the potential motive behind it is striking. Even without concrete proof, the pattern suggests a connection, or at least an understanding of the narrative the team might prefer to project publicly. The off-record network. While the media conversation cooled, the private one heated up. Rumors among current and former players, shared quietly through locker room networks, paint a different picture. According to these unverified reports, Gabriel has been overthrowing passes in practice. Meanwhile, during the limited reps Shedeur Sanders gets, players describe his throws as crisp, accurate, and smooth down the field. They believe he deserves a real shot, but they'll also believe he won't get one yet. Because inside team culture, challenging the coach's narrative can cost you your spot or your network. After what happened when Chad Ochocinco Johnson leaked locker room opinions, players are more careful, but still talking. And what they're saying echoes a pattern. Stefanski prefers structure over spark, Gabriel over Shedeur. The psychology of preference. In organizational behavior, favoritism isn't always intentional. It's often about comfort and familiarity. Leaders naturally gravitate toward what feels predictable, reliable, and easy to manage. Stefanski's system exemplifies this approach, relying on precise timing, strict control, and structured progressions. Gabriel fits that mold perfectly. Short throws, safe plays, and minimal variance make him a coach's dream. Shedeur, on the other hand, operates differently. He improvises, extends plays, and injects controlled chaos, turning risk into opportunity. For some coaches, that's brilliance. For others, it's unsettling. So when Tucker praised Stefanski's patience and structure, some heard careful analysis, while others heard subtle justification for favoring comfort over creativity. A reminder of how human behavior shapes organizational decisions. The message and the motive. After King's comments stirred the conversation and challenged the prevailing narrative, someone needed to step in and restore a sense of order. That's how systems protect themselves, maintaining control and reinforcing stability when outside voices gain influence. But why intervene at this particular moment? Why during the team's bye week, when attention should have been elsewhere? And why use a calm, measured voice immediately following the firestorm of debate and speculation? The answer lies in the intersection of perception and timing. When public opinion or commentary threatens to destabilize an organization, a composed, authoritative response is deployed deliberately. Timing becomes crucial, allowing the message to land effectively, contain the narrative, and reassert control without appearing reactive. A strategic move designed to guide the conversation back into predictable channels. The whisper echo. Behind closed doors, the whispers continue. Players say Shedeur's passes are on point. They say Gabriel's deep throws sail, and they say Stefanski doesn't seem to want a competition. It's not proof, it's pattern. And patterns create pressure, because when truth and silence coexist, tension builds. They say the locker room feels different, quieter, sharper. They say eyes linger a little too long in meetings. They say the veterans are watching how the coaches talk. A nod here, a glance there, messages coded in tone. No one says it outright, but everyone knows the stakes. You can feel the season breathing before it begins. Dreams stretch across the turf, fragile and loud. And every throw, every whisper becomes a signal. Because in this game, silence isn't peace, it's warning. And soon, someone's truth will have to speak first. They say even the cameras can't catch everything. Some truths hide between the frames. The rookies walk a little straighter now, feeling eyes on their backs. Every rep feels like a test, every mistake like a headline. The air tastes like rumors, thick, electric, unfinished. In the cafeteria, laughter dies quicker than it starts. Phones stay face down. Trust feels like currency. The coaches speak in riddles, but the players translate in silence. Outside, the fans only see the highlights, not the hesitation. They don't hear the sighs, the late-night film rewinds, the muttered prayers. Because what's whispered in November echoes in January. Momentum is fragile. Confidence is rented, never owned. Somewhere a decision is already made, but not yet spoken. And everyone pretends they don't know until the echo becomes a headline. The paradigm shift. The old NFL model is cracking. Independent player podcasts and fan-driven platforms are challenging the corporate narrative. The system that once said, "We control the media, we control the story," is losing its grip. Shedeur Sanders represents that shift, the collision between authentic momentum and manufactured message. Maybe Ross Tucker was commissioned. Maybe he was simply aligned with the system instinctively. Either way, his appearance was designed to change the tone of the conversation. And that's the point of media psychology, to shift focus without fighting the facts. Because in the modern NFL, perception is power, and power rarely moves without intention. They call it coverage, but it's really choreography. Every question, every clip, every source close to the team, part of the same dance. The audience thinks they're watching the game, but they're being played too. Algorithms pick sides faster than analysts. Narratives trend before stats can catch up. And somewhere between sponsorship and storytelling, truth gets edited for engagement. But the players, they're building their own networks now. Cameras in their hands, voices unfiltered, stories unapproved. The gatekeepers can't keep pace with the gates breaking open. And in that chaos, that freedom, the real game begins. The balance is shifting, quietly but unmistakably. Old institutions are scrambling to redefine relevance. They used to own the microphone. Now they're just part of the noise. Every upload, every quote, every live stream chips away at their control. Authenticity is a new currency, and it can't be faked for long. Fans can feel what's real and what's rehearsed. The system can spin stories, but it can't stop truth from trending. Because once the players start speaking for themselves, the narrative isn't theirs anymore. It's everyone's. Stay tuned. Next time, we'll pull back another layer. How the battle for influence and control is reshaping sports from the inside out. The power shift, how the Shedeur Sanders saga exposed a psychological paradigm shift in sports. What if Shedeur Sanders' draft and preseason story isn't only about football performance, but about how power, perception, and psychology shape modern sports? This video doesn't claim inside knowledge or hidden evidence. It explores how fans and observers interpret shifting narratives, and why those patterns feel different from anything the NFL has seen before. When Shedeur Sanders entered the draft, many observers saw elite talent and unusual influence, a confident family, a massive online following, and public expectations that extended beyond the field. Some in the football world may have viewed that dynamic as exciting, others perhaps as challenging. This analysis simply has to ask, how do institutions react when influence begins to move outside their control? Certain fans believe the draft reflected more than scouting reports, that it mirrored a psychological lesson about hierarchy. There's no proof of any coordinated action, but the perception itself matters, because perceptions, fair or not, drive emotional responses, shape media tone, and influence how audiences interpret every throw and headline that follows. Today, millions of viewers get their sports news directly from podcasts and independent creators. That democratization has altered the psychological balance between fans and leagues. Traditional voices still matter, but they no longer own the conversation. This shift isn't about blame, it's about evolution. Influence has migrated from studios to smartphones, and every organization is adapting. So was Shedeur Sanders' story a coordinated message, or a coincidence of timing and perception? We can't know for sure. What we can study is the psychology behind how stories spread, how credibility forms, and how quickly public sentiment can turn. This is PsychOps Sports, where theories meet psychology and the line between perception and power keeps moving.